Speaking of the Rockets, they're going to have to spend tons of money. Lots and lots and lots of money. They have to hit the salary floor. It's nearly $50 million. They have the fourth pick. We know the rumors. We know the Hardens of the world. The Fred Van Vliet has been mentioned a lot on this show. How are you spending Tillman's $50 million on this team this offseason?
Well, I'm going to start with Fred Van Vliet, and I'm going to see how much I have to spend to go get him. I mean, his AAV last year was 21.25.
Probably could have made that again this year, right? But he opted out.
He opted out. He's going to make at least 30.
He's probably in a little escalator, maybe $23 million that he opted out of.
I think he'll make at least 35.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think he's worth it.
I don't know if I would say he's worth it.
On the right team, I think from a Houston perspective, he brings everything you need. He's a veteran, but he's not a selfish me only veteran. He's not a James Harden type veteran that's going to command the ball and suffocate the offense, not play defense. This is the consummate guy you need for this team because he brings the veteran leadership. He brings a guy that can get buckets and make shots, and he's a shooter too. But he's also a point guard that can distribute and if you're open, he's going to get you the ball. And he's also coachable. And I think that he makes the most sense for this young nucleus to kind of take him to the next level and be a guy that can fit in rather than making this roster fit around a guy like Harden or Kyrie Irving or some of the guys that have been kicked around. So I would start there as my first choice, depending on number. That even if you go on the high side and say he's probably going to make, if I give Fred Van Vliet 35, I still have $12-15 million to play with.
Yeah, I think you have more too, right? Like under the cap, like this is to hit the salary floor. Like the Astros or the Rockets have tons of money. So how you spend the surplus? You still have some $15-20 million to spend. How you spending it?
Of the other guys that are out there, the guys that intrigue me the most, but are guys that I don't know are the best fit for this team. But a lot of people had said Brook Lopez. But if you look at a guy like Nikolai Vucevic, you talked about a guy that can offensively, he can make threes. He's got a good touch, but he's going to bang. He's going to get rebounds. He's going to do the dirty work. A lot of the things, and he plays defense, which is a lot of the things that Şengün is either struggling to do or hasn't done yet. So I think that he's going to be a much cheaper option than Brook Lopez coming off Defensive Player of the Year accolades and all the things that people, and the way offensively he's a three-point shooter. He's going to be the high side of guys at the center position. If you could get a Vucevic somewhere in the 20 range, 20-some, and you add him to this nucleus, I think he's the big Şengün needs and this team needs. And those are the first two guys that I would start with and I would look at to make this team better.
I think that you're overspending on Van Vliet, but I think you have to.
You do have
It's
to.
kind of where I'm at with that. I don't want Harden. If you do bring in Harden, it better not be at more than 2 years. I think that Kyrie Irving is fantasy land. I don't think Kyrie Irving's going to set foot in Houston. I don't think the Rockets have any interest in Kyrie Irving. So they're going to have to make a splash with a guard. I rather overpay Van Vliet than overpay James Harden. So
Right.
I don't think he's worth $35 million a year, but I'll eat the cost knowing I have to spend money, knowing that I'd rather have him over James Harden. So give me that. I like the idea of Robin Lopez, to be honest. Mario Ellie kind of talked me into that because I think that
No, Brook Lopez.
Brook Lopez, my bad. The plight that we saw in Brook Lopez's career, where he turned into being like a dude that looked like his feet were in cinder blocks, like could not defend, period.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden he's turned into a pretty admirable defender.
Couldn't rebound or defend.
Like,
and now look at him.
I want that guy on the team, not to necessarily get minutes. He will get some by default. Not to necessarily get minutes, but to be like Alpi Şengün's personal mentor, to try to get out of Şengün what Lopez did with his defensive prowess throughout his entire career. Because my biggest hang-up on Şengün, I think that Şengün's going to turn into a really effective offensive player. You can make the case he already is, but they didn't utilize him in the right way. My biggest fear with Şengün is, can he defend his shadow? Is he giving up 30 points a game while he's scoring 25? So I want that mentor for Şengün basically more than like a backup big.
At what price are you paying him, though? That's the biggest question.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to overspend, but you have to be the highest bidder, especially if he's going to come to a 60-loss team. So, now, to me, I don't really care about the AAV as much. I care about getting into bad long-term contracts. So if I have to overspend for a year to get him on a one-year deal, cool. I'll do that.
Boy, they got him on the cheap last year, man. He's an all-star. They list him as an all-star caliber player at 13 last year. You got to believe he's making double that next year.
How much?
13.
13 a
His
year?
AAV was 13 last year.
You think he's going to make 26?
I think he's going to make over 20.
That's a lot of money.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know what price you're going to pay. But if he's the number one rated center coming out, and he's coming off all the offensive and defensive accolades he got, that's what I'm saying.
$20 million a year.
He might not be your backup. He might start.
I'm not starting him over Alpi or
Why not?
Jabari.
Why not?
Because Alpi's your future.
Right, but as your future, he plays against second teamers, and he gets a chance to learn on the fly defensively.
Okay,
but he can excel offensively.
Are we talking 20 minutes off the bench, or are we talking 30 minutes off the bench?
Like how many minutes is Alpi playing?
Yeah,
I don't think you can still find a way to play him 25 minutes plus a game.
That's not enough for me. I need Alpi to play 30 minutes.
Okay.
So if Alpi's playing 30 minutes, does it make sense to sign a big for $20 million a year?
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
Because I'm looking at the free agency list.
What shooters
right now.
are out there that you like? Somebody texted in and said Seth Curry.
He is out there.
Do you like Seth Curry?
I think he is an underrated, even with that name. I think he's an underrated shooter that is one of the better shooters in this league. Again, price matters.
He's so small.
A team like this needs shooting.
Yeah.
I think that as a specialist, as a shooter, there's a home for him.
Specialist.
Yeah.
He'd also be a good veteran in the locker room.
That's true.
And for as far as a shooter that maybe fits the timeline with the Rockets' young guys a little bit more. He is a restricted free agent, so the Brooklyn Nets will be able to match any offer on him. But
I wonder their desire to do that.
But Cam Johnson from the Nets.
Cam has been connected here forever and a day. He wants to come here. Stone likes him a lot. They want to make it happen. He's already looking at 20 plus. So is Cam Johnson, who is a younger generation, like you were saying, Jeremy, more than just a shooter, he's also got a bigger frame. Is he worth over $20 million a year? Because that's what he's looking for.
See, the thing
I
is,
don't know that he is.
whoever you
Just
sign,
turned
you're going to be
27.
overspending. Like, whoever you sign in free agency, I guarantee you the next day we're going to be looking at the salary and be like, man,
Yeah,
that
Fred
is a
VanVleet's
lot.
getting what?
VanVleet's getting what?
He's getting
Harden's getting
35, I
what?
think.
Yeah.
Lopez is getting what? Curry signed into an offer sheet for what? Dylan Brooks? Draymond Green? See, I have more names I don't want than names that I want.
Bruce Brown's free agent. Now, Bruce Brown's probably going to stay in Denver if they're smart and it's a good fit for him.
Is that one restricted? Does he have a
Bruce Brown?
Yeah.
Bruce Brown is player option, which he'll decline.
He'll decline.
Yeah, he'll decline that because his market's
Could not be
Bruce
higher
Brown.
than he is right now.
What do you think about Peyton Pritchard as a backup point that can shoot?
Oh, I like him.
He played with Boston.
Yeah, he's
played with Ime.
Well, he asked for a trade.
Yeah.
He wants out.
Which, I mean, where are we at in society where Peyton Pritchard's asking for a trade? That's ridiculous.
But, you feel like your career's rotting away because you're playing behind Smart and the guards that they have and the big names that they keep bringing in, Brogdon and others.
Yeah.
And you don't want your career to be wasted on the bench. I understand where he's coming from. I don't know that Boston's going to get anything more than a late.
Pick 20.
Right.
Would you do that?
Yeah.
I would too.
I would too, no, without question.
Especially if you don't want a bunch of young players. Like if you keep 4, you're adding another rookie to a nucleus that's already extremely young. If you get number 20, you're drafting another Ty Washington or Josh Christopher. Yeah, give me Peyton Pritchard.
This also goes to my theory that I never want to see Deshaun Nixon in a Rockets uniform again, ever.
Yeah, can we cut him?
So, yeah, please allow him to leave or force him to do so. And if Peyton Pritchard's my backup point guard, I am totally fine with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would too. He can shoot, man.
Because you asked a question, I'm looking at it. There aren't a whole lot of young, especially younger shooters.
What was the question?
What shooters would you want?
Oh, yeah.
I'm
like
looking
Curry
at
might be
this
the
list.
best.
Yeah,
quite honestly.
Curry.
Now Pritchard, I would be intrigued by Pritchard.
Pritchard.
Pritchard cooked us one year at Eugene. Like he cooked us.
Kobe White from Chicago.
Kobe White's I know guys that have coached him and worked with him. There are certain things he doesn't do well, especially looking like a point guard. Mm-hmm. There are certain things he does really well. He can score from anywhere.
What about Murray? Hawks, if they unload on him, like San Antonio unloaded on him.
Expensive and no.
You're out on him?
Completely.
Yeah, attitude.
Yeah, I'm not. Remember, who was it that he tapped on the head and then he got cooked in the fourth quarter? That was right. It was Jabari.